There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. You know, I was looking at that opening, Burchelle, and I think that we need to change that. And I need to put Burchelle in there because Burchelle is here all the time. She's awesome, and she's with us today as always. Burchelle, how are you this morning, this afternoon, whatever time it is in your part of the world?
I'm doing really, really good, Kevin. It is 1 p.m. my time today, and it is a beautiful day. It's not hot, but it's not cold. It's just kind of a low, dim energy. And I kind of like how the universe provides us that sometimes. I think that it works for all of us. So that's good.
And by the way, if you are in Australia listening to this, it's the middle of the night. So go to bed. What are you doing up? And if you're in Japan, it's early in the morning. So you should be listening to us then. So we've got a great show for you today, and we are going to educate you people that don't think about chiropractic as a real science that is real helpful to people. It's been really beneficial for me. And Burchelle, because you're the staff linguist, I would love for you to introduce our guest and so that we can talk to her.
Yes, of course. Today we are with Dr. Laila Nayab-Murshidi. We'll go with Dr. Laila, but we'll fit in her full name so that you can find her more about her throughout the show. Her website is tustinvmc.com. But Dr. Laila, it is honestly an honor to have you here today to teach about so many of the things that you've learned and all the work that you do that may be a little different than what we naturally learn as chiropractic work. So how are you today? This is going to be exciting.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. Super blessed and grateful and excited and honored that I am able to be on your show and be able to just talk and share just a little bit about what I know, and hopefully people that are listening that have been told there's nothing that can be done for them to give them some hope.
Yeah.
I need that, and I told you this story before we began, but I need to tell everybody this story because I was an athlete when I was a kid, and when I was like 23, 24, I went to a gym, and they had a universal gym. And Burchelle, you know, I don't even know if they have them anymore, but a universal gym where they've got, pull up, and you've got weights and stuff, and they got leg presses and stuff.
Yeah, every gym has all that usually now.
Okay. Good. That's how long it's been since I've, been to a gym. But I was strong at the time, and I decided I was going to do a leg press of 750 pounds. And so I did. I got ready to do the leg press, and I pushed on, and I moved it at 750 pounds, and then my right leg slipped off, and that caused my back to go out, and I had suddenly a sharp pain in my, and doctor will know this, my L4, L5.
Yes.
And so we ended up going to a emergency room. My girlfriend at the time, who became my wife, took me there. And they had me lie down on the table, and the doctor came in, and he looked at me, and he said, "Where does it hurt?" And I told him, "What did you do?" And I told him, and he walked around the table 3 times, and he said, "Well, you hurt your back." I said, "No kidding, really?" and he said, "Well, I'm going to give you some muscle relaxers and some pain medication, but you're going to have back surgery sooner or later." And so that was it. I said, is that all I get? That's done? And he said, yeah. And so we didn't fill the prescription and we left. And on the way home, there was a chiropractic office and a gentleman by the name of Dr. Cronlin was there. And I crawled literally, she had to help me in. And the receptionist said, looks like you hurt your back. And I said, yeah, I did. I'm in pain and it hurts. And so they gave me an x-ray and I I saw Dr. Cronlin and he said, well, you've hurt your back and it's L4, L5 and this is what you've done and we can help here. And so he adjusted me and because I had what they call a subluxation, a major one. And so he adjusted me and I got up and I walked out of the office and I went to work that day. And I am a firm believer in chiropractic medicine ever since. I've known many doctors. I've had several of them on my show over the years, and they're just remarkable. And I know that you got into a traffic accident about a year ago now, and you went to a chiropractor too, Michelle, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I still go now. And I can notice when I don't go. And it leads me to so many questions about my own experience and other people that I've heard. My mom has been in many car accidents. And even how you mentioned, Kevin, being an athlete. I was an athlete and a dancer when I was young. And, you know, just certain things that you do and that your body goes through over time, we don't really think about, Dr. Laila. And then all of a sudden you are like me, where you wake up in the morning or you stand up from sitting down after 5 minutes and you're cracking and it hurts and it's stiff and sore. And maybe we don't realize how all these things add up, even if they just seem little to us. So after a big experience, I think, is that when people usually come to see somebody like you, is when they don't have another option?
Honestly, for a long time before social media, it was either, some doctors that would have firsthand experience themselves or their family. They would refer patients to us. But a lot of times it was because of a car accident or somebody in trouble, and they've tried so many different things and nothing really helped them. And then they heard from somebody to see a chiropractor. Now with TikTok and social media, people are educated through that. And so now I'm getting referrals from more MDs, as well as obviously people themselves looking for, their phones are listening to them. So they're complaining about back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain or whatever the case might be. And so they're coming on their own. I just had a patient today actually who for 4 years has been going back and forth on a workers' comp case and just has not gotten better, and just 2 adjustments and they're just shocked that they lost 4 years of their lives by just getting a couple of adjustments, and what a profound difference it made for them.
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of times that because I was in the restaurant business, and so I had to walk around a lot, and I worked long hours, and and sometimes my back would go out, and then I would go see my chiropractor, and he would fix it, and I could go back to work, because and medical doctors. They don't have the training. They don't have the expertise to be able to do that. And it used to be, Dr. Laila, that medical doctors would say, "Oh no, chiropractor is just quackery. It's just terrible. It's just," but it's real and it's honest and it's good and it helps and it's also a lot less expensive now than having back surgery and all that kind of stuff. So
Absolutely.
so congratulate. Now, what chiropractic school did you go to?
I went to Cleveland Chiropractic College in Los Angeles. And that was about, it adds up quickly, 22 years ago. It was a great school. And so I just, realized that just listening to the patient for just 15 minutes, you literally can have a diagnosis, and just from listening to their history, because a lot comes from that. What are they not able to do? Just asking the right questions and giving them that time. And it just shows how interested and passionate you are. When I ask patients about how many kids they have, sometimes, they wonder, why am I asking about questions such as that? Because what does that have anything to do with it? Because it tells me the level of stress that they have. I am a parent, and so I have two kids, so I know that it's a constant thing. Sometimes we don't put the attention that our bodies need for ourselves, and it's imperative. You can live without food for several months. You can live without water for 5, 6 days, but you can't live without nervous system function for seconds. And it's so critical. And gravity compresses us. We have wear and tear. Our bodies, whether it's genetics, weak muscles, tight muscles, bad posture, flat feet, injuries, accidents, sports injuries. So many variables can actually affect the body in a negative way, and we don't realize what an impact it makes on the nervous system. And the nervous system controls every organ, every cell, every tissue in the body. So we want to make sure that those holes between the spinal bones are open and they don't get a buildup of calcium. Just like we get tartar on our teeth, we get calcium on the spine. And so we want to make sure those holes are clean and open and clear. And so when you have a misalignment of a spinal bone, it just shifts enough to create that hole where the nerve comes out from to be a little bit smaller. And so that presses upon that nerve, and that nerve is not able to transmit all the signals to that particular organ. And so when somebody tells you, oh, your gallbladder is infected and full of stones, we need to remove it. Well, those nerves didn't communicate with that organ, with that gallbladder, long before you actually had that infection or the gallstones.
So you can help with gallstones.
So the medical model does not like it when we actually say that we can cure anything.
Correct.
So all we do is we remove subluxations, which subluxation is just a fancy word that chiropractors use. And it basically is, sub means under, lux means movement. So under movement, meaning the joint is locked out of alignment and it's not moving. It's under moving, so it's not quite moving, and it's not mobile. It doesn't have that recoil. It's stuck. That's why we're able to palpate it and find that it's stuck out of alignment, interfering with the nerve and its function, lowering your state of health. So all we do is remove the subluxation, and then the nervous system is able to do its job and control that organ better. So then you start to have better function of all the systems of the body.
And I want to make sure that everybody's clear about this. Chiropractic school is no easy feat to get through. It's like the gentleman that I knew, I asked him about it, and it's a 6-year course. Is that how long it was for you? Or were you able? He did it in less than 6 years, but you learn all about anatomy, and so it's a real science of what they
100%.
teach you.
100%. I had biological sciences as my degree initially, so you do have to have your prerequisite before you start chiropractic school. And it could be 4 years, it could be 6 years, depends on what you specialize in after. I went to school for about 9 years, including my undergrad. There is the clinic part towards the end of your schooling. And you're treating patients in clinic. You're taking x-rays, you're diagnosing. It's about 4,400 hours, same as medical school. But the only thing is we study toxicology, not pharmacology. There's different classes, obviously, catered to what we do in terms of chiropractors, and technique and anatomy and physiology and neurology. I mean, it's pretty much everything that a medical doctor learns, because we're essentially diagnosing. We're not necessarily becoming a surgeon, but we are still held accountable for diagnosing properly, as we hear a history from a patient, just like they would go and tell their medical doctor that they have this, this, and this as symptoms. We have to find out what those symptoms, where are they coming from, and what does that mean for the patient. And so if somebody tells me that they have blood in their urine, obviously I need to make sure that they're referred back to their doctor so that they can do a urinalysis, and because that could mean that they have an infection. So it's not just about come on in and let me just crack you, which is not the case. We do a history. In my office, nobody gets adjusted unless I see the x-rays of the neck and the lower back, which are very, very areas that are, I wouldn't adjust the neck and the lower back without seeing somebody's x-rays first, because I modify the way I adjust somebody based on the findings on the x-ray.
And we need to take our first break. But when we come back, I would love for Brishelle to talk about her car accident and for you guys to talk about that a little bit. Is that okay, Brishelle?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, very good. And we will be right back in just 1 minute. So everybody stay put. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A man accidentally hit the snooze button 3 times. Frustrated to start the day late, but when he stepped outside, he caught the sunrise he hadn't seen in years. Sometimes delays are not punishments, they're gifts in disguise. Slow down. Notice the beauty. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. After the longest night, the sun rose again. It painted the sky with colors no one had seen before. That's how life works. Darkness never lasts forever. No matter how long the night feels, your sunrise will come. Hold on. Light always finds its way back. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Brishelle. She's right there. That's her. And my name is Kevin. And okay, picture, if you will, it was nighttime, and they were going to get some fast food because they were hungry, and they were driving along, and my host here was in the passenger seat. And then, Brishelle, what happened?
Yes, and then so there's 2 car accidents I want to bring up, because the first one I think has a lot to play in the second one. But in the second one, yeah, it was pouring rain. We're in a very, very low, smaller car that we were actually going the speed limit. There wasn't even music playing. It was a moment that, like, you realize how fast things can happen. And next thing I knew, it's hard for me to remember because we went over a median that was 12 inches tall, about a foot tall, head first. So the road had swerved. I later found out that many people were hitting this, so I hope they removed it. But the road went right, and then it went back straight, and it only took a split second to miss it with how dark it was, and it was raining. And we flew straight over it, straight up into the air, and came down and landed directly in the middle lane of the road. And it knocked me out. I remember what was kind of going on right before, but I don't remember the impact. I was wearing my seatbelt, but my head still hit the ceiling. And when I came to it, I mean, there was smoke, there was everything everywhere. Out of shock, I tried to move the car, and then I fell flat on my face, which probably did not help what my neck just went through. But a few years before that, I was also on a lunch break going to get food, and we were taking a ride at a light, and a drunk driver was coming in pretty hot behind me, wasn't looking, and the car in front of me was slowing down to get into the gas station. So I bounced back and forth off both cars. And when that happened, I had gone to the emergency room, and they thought that I had fractured my spine. And if I moved a certain way, I was going to be paralyzed forever. And so this was at the clinic. So they rushed me in an ambulance to the ER. And it was like maybe 9 hours later after the whole incident happened, because when you're in shock, you don't feel the pain. But my mom convinced me to go in, and they said, nope, you just have extreme damage in your muscles and whiplash, and you're going to be sore. They gave me a neck brace I wore even at work for a few weeks. And then I got in this one and went to the chiropractor. And it's crazy to realize how much it was helping me, because I've kind of been away from going to the chiropractor for a little time now. And a lot of people don't realize that it's not something like, you don't just go to the chiropractor once and then boom, it's better. You have to, yeah, it's just like you don't eat a single carrot and you have all the nutrients you need type of thing. But I was very blessed, Dr. Laila. I got to go to an amazing place, Willow Creek, here in Salt Lake City, and they've been amazing. They have really good doctors, and when they did switch doctors is when I kind of stopped going too, because there's the one person that maybe is a little right for you, and most people think, oh, you just go to a chiropractor, they're all the same, but that's completely different, right?
So true. Yeah. Somebody you can connect with, somebody who is going to make you feel at ease and comfortable. Kind of like what I read about Kevin's show, a place that you feel safe and you feel comfort and you feel love. So if a doctor is not educating you, because doctor means teacher. So it's so imperative for you to teach your patient, because when you're teaching them, they're learning and they know that you know what you're talking about. You're not just like honestly, the reason why the term quack came along was because there are some doctors that were not really acting the part of a doctor, and doing it the right way and taking the time to really, excuse me, to take the time to really properly diagnose the patient and properly educate the patient so that they understand why and what they have going on and why they're coming in and what's going to be done for them, so that they have a clear idea of what to expect. And so so you ease their mind, because not only do you educate them so that they feel confident and that you know what you're talking about, and when you first touch them and how you connect with them through your hands, because confidence comes through your hands as well. When you feel the spine and feel the muscles, then and as I do an exam, I educate my patients, like, this is what's going on, this is what I'm feeling, this is off. So that they know as well, like, when I feel, do you feel this moving? When they say no, and then I show them the opposite side, that it is moving. So motion is lotion. Motion is life. And if you're lacking motion, you're lacking blood flow. And if you're lacking blood flow, that area is not getting the nutrients that it needs. So that area will wither away just like we do. It'll atrophy, it'll degenerate. And we wonder why. And it's because of the lack of blood flow. So what happens if we don't eat or get water or oxygen? We perish, we degenerate, we atrophy. So why wouldn't an area in your body have the same thing happen? So everything we do is about movement. Everything that we do that's why people benefit from exercise, from movement, because movement is what gets blood flow and nutrients. So every service that we offer in my office has to do with movement and blood flow. So if you can do that for a patient and then educate them on how to be self-sufficient, like I go back to doctor being a teacher, is because I teach my patients how to be self-sufficient so that they can do for themselves. I can adjust the spine, I can work on the muscles, but I can't teach them good habits that's going to stick. They have to do that for themselves, and I can teach them. It has to become a lifestyle. And if you want the quick fix, I had a patient last week, she told me that she's going to go on Ozempic or one of those drugs that's going to help her lose weight. And I said, do you want to lose weight and then just gain it back as soon as you stop the medication? Because that's what's going to happen. It's going to be like a yo-yo effect. Or do you want to make the choice and the lifestyle changes that's going to bring about healthier habits of nutrition, exercise? Naturally, your body's going to lose weight. And it's going to keep it off because it becomes a lifestyle. So that's what we encourage here in my office. Not only, we treat car accident cases, we treat patients who have falls, injuries, accidents, but a lot of times it's just the daily habits, the bad posture, the flat feet, the one leg shorter than the other, the of genetics, things, weaker muscles, weaker frames, even just going through the birthing canal is traumatic for kids, and sports injuries. We just brush off our kids when they fall and say, "Oh, you're okay," and in fact, they're not okay. But that's how they heal incorrectly. So I adjust kids as well. I've been adjusting my kids since they were 3 days old, and people are shocked by that. My daughter was only sleeping 30 minutes at a time, and she was waking up every 30 minutes. I had her at home in the water, a home birth, and it was the most beautiful thing. And so I was like a zombie. I didn't even think about adjusting my own daughter. I went to see a holistic pediatrician, and she was working. She works in LA, but she was using an office space with one of the chiropractors in Newport Beach. When I went to see her, she's like, "You're a chiropractor. Have you adjusted your daughter?" I said, "No." She's like, "Why don't there's an activator? Why don't you adjust her?" I'm like, "Okay." I My daughter, within maybe 10 or 15 seconds, she went into a deep sleep for 7 hours. And mind you, she was only sleeping 30 minutes at a time and waking up and sleeping 30 minutes and then waking up. So I was like a zombie, but I was like, wow. So firsthand, you experience it with your own children, and it's the safest thing. It just needs to, obviously we need to take precaution. I don't x-ray children. I don't x-ray kids because there's radiation involved. It slows down their growth. So I do minimal x-rays only on the areas that are that I would have to modify the way I adjust. I don't take x-rays on extremities unless we work on it first and it doesn't improve. Then we'll consider an x-ray if I'm also suspecting a fracture or suspecting, a bone spur or arthritis. But a lot of times we order an MRI for them as well to see if there's a soft tissue injury like a tear or rotator cuff muscle or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I've had tremendous range of patients from 94-year-olds to, a baby straight from the hospital who had torticollis and the neck was stuck to one side, kind of dislodged in the pelvic area, and we were able to adjust them. And obviously we adjust seniors differently, we adjust children differently, I would say I adjust everybody differently. It just depends on what it is that they need and the technique that I need to use to help them get to where they need to be.
And so, how would you have been able to, or what would you have done in Rochelle's case if she came to you and said, "My neck hurts," and because the airbag also deployed, didn't it?
Yes.
Mine in front of me did not. Every single one did, and I still question that, Dr. Laila, if it had come out, if it would have stopped me from hitting my head. I mean, I'm a pretty small person. I'm like 110, 15 pounds at 5'1". But my airbag didn't deploy. And I don't know how that would have affected me either.
Sometimes
in both car accidents, I guess they didn't.
Sometimes it could save your life, but sometimes it also is traumatic as well because you go into severe hyperflexion, severe hyperextension. It does save lives. I mean, there's some cars that have airbags on each side, front, top. I'm not sure how you were able to hit your head. If your seatbelt was properly fastened, it should have kept you in place. Some people get bruising from the seatbelts, but yet they're not thrown out of the car. So you're very lucky that you didn't break a bone. People don't realize that one thing is that if you take the equation force to find out how much your body absorbs, it's force equals mass times acceleration. Just like Christopher Reeves, when he was thrown off of a horse, the speed times the mass can give you the force of impact that when he landed on and broke his a vertebrae, which caused him to be paralyzed. It takes a lot of force to break a bone, and these these bones are huge and solid, and it's like all bone. For a bone to break, you literally have to have a lot of force of impact. And so, and a sedan, for example, weighs about 5,000 pounds. So if you multiply that by the speed of impact, your body absorbs 80,000 pounds of force. So it's so traumatic. So even if you're going like 10 miles per hour, for example, and so your body absorbs a lot, and this, it causes the spine to misalign. But if you keep popping pills and take ibuprofen and muscle relaxers, because that's what's given to you when you go to the hospital, if they don't see a fracture on your x-rays and they give you these medication, you take these, so you relax the muscle, you decrease the inflammation, and inflammation is your body trying to heal itself. So you're actually slowing down your healing and masking the symptoms. So after a while, your body thinks that you're okay because it shuts off. You're shutting off the signal. And then you have long-term problems that you don't even realize that it was related to the accident.
Yeah.
So it's imperative for people to get just checked out, even if they don't have severe symptoms, to see if there is misalignments. And of course, they could have been misaligned even before the accident.
Oh,
And
yes, it was.
Well, she was an athlete when she was younger and was a figure skater. And so falling on the ice doesn't give very much when you
No,
fall
you just
on the
slide.
ice. Yes. And by the way, Dr. Laila, we need to take a break. But the one thing that I have learned in this segment is don't get in a car and go get food. That's a bad problem. It caused a couple accidents for you and stuff. So Uber it in, and then you don't have to worry about going out. Anyway, we need to take our halftime break, and we'll be right back more with Dr. Laila and Brachelle. And Brachelle, I bet you've got a question when we come back.
I do.
We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Here are some points to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. You know, some say leadership is about getting the work done, about pushing forward, no matter the cost. But what's the cost of a team with no purpose? What if a single act of support, a single moment of genuine grit could change everything? What if leadership was a catalyst? Because true leadership isn't about being in control. It's about empowering others to find their purpose. It's about leading with passion and igniting the fire in everyone around you, creating a culture of teamwork and common purpose. A true leader finds this culture by enthusiastic purpose and team development, making each team member feel empowered to create, improve, and execute their tasks with genuine passion and a strong belief in the company's mission and focus. In other words, lead with purpose. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Brachelle. That's her right there. And my name is Kevin. And Dr. Laila is with us. And she's a chiropractor from Orange County area and Tustin, I do believe. And so you can go there and you can find her. And she does all kinds of different things. And the one thing, Dr. Laila, and then I'm going to turn it over to Brachelle. The one thing that I've also noticed is a lot of chiropractors do a lot of nutrition and a lot of nutrition studies. Medical doctors do not. They have maybe a quarter in the people that I've talked to that are MDs. So nutrition is really not a major focus of what they do, but it's a major focus for all of us in the health of our bodies. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. So I'm working on a book, and there's many different chapters, and one of the chapters is all about nutrition, adequate water intake, making good choices in terms of, like I said, it's all about lifestyle, and nutrition is a big, huge factor. Making the choice to eat foods that are going to take the energy away from you, because it takes so much effort on your body to break it down, versus foods that you actually get nutrients that builds your body.
And that's really important. Rochelle, you have
Yeah,
a question.
I've had this lingering question because I myself have experienced this, and I know many other people who have. When they say, "Well, I don't like chiropractors because when I leave the chiropractor, I'm sore, and it's not supposed to be that way," or "When I got adjusted, it hurt," and all those aboves. Is that normal?
So that's a great question. So adjustments are not supposed to hurt. Adjustments are not supposed to hurt, but there are some exceptions, and that is if somebody is really restricted and the muscles are really, really tight. And so that's uncommon. If anything, you should be sore within 24 hours because you're creating motion in a segment of the body and you're not addressing the muscles yet, right? Because a lot of patients come in initially just for chiropractic care, and we don't want to overwhelm them with all these other services that we do that addresses the muscles. So we have to essentially earn their confidence. And so initially we just mobilize the spine just to see how they respond to the adjustment in of itself. And I would say 90% of the time patients do so much better. You can see my question the next day, is it better, worse, or the same? Because you can get worse sometimes, and that's worse in their opinion, not necessarily in my opinion, because now they're moving, but they have a little bit more pain, but it's a different type of pain. It's like a soreness pain, like they went and worked out. If you're forcing an adjustment, you will definitely cause some pain, because if you're forcing an adjustment, you're working against the patient's will. So that's why it's critical for you to go to a chiropractor that has had a good amount of experience and somebody who is subtle, because you don't have to force. If you use the right physics and the right technique, you'll get a segment to move unless it's really restricted. I don't try to move a segment more than twice. If I try once and it doesn't work, I change my angle slightly, or I do a little tiny bit of muscle work around that region to mobilize the spine, and it should be super, super fluid and comfortable for the patient. And if it doesn't move, we have devices like an activator that moves. If you tap it, it literally moves a bowling ball 2 feet. So it's very, there's no manipulation involved. You're just tapping the bone, essentially. And I use that for babies, and I also use that for osteoporotic patients, post-surgical patients. So it shouldn't hurt. And if it is hurting, then I would definitely talk to the doctor and see if they can do some muscle work or some sort of electrical stimulation, or something that's going to calm down the muscles before adjusting. And if they don't do those things and then they do another adjustment and it hurts again, then I would change my doctor. Because obviously it shouldn't hurt.
Yeah, and how important is that also in, you mentioned you always x-ray, obviously not super young babies or people that it's not healthy for, but how important is it for somebody to see an x-ray or have some sort of breakdown before they're even trying to adjust something?
It's critical. It's really critical. I don't like to x-ray anybody under 18, as long because their growth plates are still open. And then I even 19, 20-year-olds, depends on what it is that I find during the exam and whether or not I absolutely feel that the benefits of seeing the x-ray outweighs the negative, right? And so for older patients, anybody in the range of, I would say, 2022 to and beyond, I require x-rays for the lower back and for the neck if I'm going to touch that area, because I've had to modify the way I adjust someone based on x-rays. And it was for their, it's for them to, it's for their benefit. And then also, what is our goals? If a patient has a reverse neck curvature and they're getting vertigo and they're getting migraines and they're getting shoulder problems and they have thyroid problems, wouldn't it be a good idea to look at their x-rays to see exactly what it is that we're working with and what we're dealing with, so that we can actually give them the advice that, yes, I can adjust you, take the pressure off the nerve, but you're just going to go right back out of alignment unless you actually correct the curve in your spine so that it can stay more, how should I say, flexible and have recoil, and so that you're, like a spring, and because if it's going in the opposite direction, the curvature, you're going to be stiff, you're going to be rigid, your head is going to feel heavier, and there's going to be more of a weight that your upper body is having to hold. And so that's why people say, gosh, I carry all my stress on my shoulders. Well, you're not really carrying all your stress, you're carrying a big head, essentially. And so for every inch that you're forward, you're increasing the weight of your head by 10 pounds. So if you're 2 inches forward from where you should be, then you're carrying an extra 20 pounds on top of the 10 your head weighs already. So now carry a 30-pound barbell over your shoulders and walk around with it all day, and then you'll know exactly how much correction you need and how much pressure you're putting on those areas when you're lacking a curvature and your head is going in the opposite direction.
I've never asked anybody this question. How much does the typical head weigh?
About 10 pounds.
So you've got a bowling ball on top of your shoulders.
Basically.
Yeah.
And you have tiny little muscles in the neck and in the shoulders that are supporting. And we're like little puppets. We have strings that are being pulled so that we can turn our head. We can look up, we can look down to the side. So all these strings are pulling. And so when we have super tight muscles along the upper part of the back, then those strings become shorter. And then we start to lose our curves, and those can be corrected as long as you're able to see the x-rays and you can see it earlier on. You can actually reverse that. And now with computers and phones and gadgets, we're constantly, I don't know if you see people, they're always looking down, and even if you're coming as a family member in my office, you're going to get picked on if you have bad posture.
And I got it. By the way, I don't think Brachelle's head weighs 10 pounds. Mine may weigh 15 pounds. I don't know. But I have to ask you, doctor, because I have a sibling who's a stubborn girl, and she had back surgery way back when, because she wouldn't. She never sits down, and she works until so she hurt herself. So she ended up having back surgery. This is back before they had arthroscopic surgery, and so this is when they would open you up, and they would go in there, and they would take your organs out. And anyway, it was a big deal. And so she had that, and then she survived for a while. And then, of course, she worked at a computer 70 hours a week for a long time. And so she ended up having back surgery or neck surgery. And then she had another neck surgery. And then she had another neck surgery. And then she has had another back surgery. And I kept telling her, why don't you go to a chiropractor? And she said, oh, no, I don't want to go to a chiropractor. I can't. And I said, because they've helped me a great deal. And she said, well, that's you. They wouldn't be able to help me. The doctors say there's nothing that they can do for me. And I said, well, why don't you give it a try? No, I'm not going to go to. Can just talk to her now, because she'll be listening to this at one point. and
there's probably so many people that feel that way too.
There are. And now she's had 12 or 13 surgeries in the last 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
in various parts, including her neck, where they had to, this is going to gross you out, Brachelle. They had to go through the front of her neck to get through the back of the neck. And then, so she couldn't eat for like 3 weeks, and it's a mess. And now she is not very ambulatory. She also had both her hips replaced, and one foot is shorter than the other one. She is a friggin' mess, I can only tell you. So could you help somebody like that?
Absolutely. And I know people are going to say, you haven't even seen the patient and you don't know what you can do. But even if we can help her by 5%, that's 5% more than what she has now. And it doesn't necessarily have to be even for me to even touch her. I can just give her some advice. as to, how to sit, which muscles to strengthen. Our program in our office is that we do a functional assessment where we put our patients through a multitude of muscle tests, and we call it a functional evaluation. And we check to see which muscles are weak, which muscles are tight, so we can structure a actual workout program for them to not only lengthen the muscles but strengthen the muscles so that they can be self-sufficient and do for themselves. And then we can see structurally in terms of posture. Do they have flat feet? Do they pronate with their feet? Is one leg shorter than the other? And I like to do a standing x-ray for the pelvis so I can see if there is a leg discrepancy anatomically. And if so, we just add a little lift inside her heel of her shoe, and that'll even her out so she's not going to be off kilter. And then as a result, she'll have more balance and stability in her legs, which essentially will support her torso. 70% of back surgeries fail because the pain never necessarily came specifically from the site that looks on an MRI that needs surgery, because a lot of times it's a muscular component, which means that there's some weakness in the muscles, maybe because they're not getting proper nerve input because of a vertebra being out of alignment. We don't know what comes first, whether it's the muscle that goes first or the vertebra that goes first. It doesn't necessarily matter, because ultimately they're all going to be involved: the ligament, the tendon, the muscle, the joint, the nerve, the vertebra, the disc. So we need to address everything. But first, we need to address the mind and the mindset and understanding the body and learning about the body, because you only get one, and you want to know as much as possible about the body so that you can be your own best doctor, because you're hearing and listening and feeling those symptoms before anybody else. So you should be able to know exactly and listen to those signals and actually do something about it, as opposed to just popping pills and doing another surgery and another surgery, and because surgery is permanent.
It is. And in my experience, I've had a bunch myself, and most of the time they don't help. They say that they do, but they really don't.
And surgery, I have great respect for medication. I don't know how much more time we have. I have a couple of things that I would love to share.
Well, first of all, we need to take our last break, and then we'll come back in just a second. But Brachelle's going to tell us how to pronounce your name and your website.
Yes, Dr. Laila, that is Laila Nayab-Murshidi, Nayab-Murshidi. And if you want to go to her website, there is so much information. You really don't even have to think twice about it. It's VMC.com. And I'll announce all those things a lot better than I just did at the end of the show, because I'll be a little more ready for it. And then we'll have Dr. Laila share the rest with us.
It's like, surprise, Brachelle, figure it out. And she did. And she did a great job. And Dr. Laila, we'll be right back in just 30 seconds. So everybody who's listening, stay right with us, please. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A tiny seed was buried in the dirt, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world. But within that darkness, it grew roots, then sprouted into something beautiful. The seasons of struggle you face are not endings. They're beginnings. Trust that growth is happening, even when you cannot see it. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A woman spent years hating the reflection in her mirror. One day, she whispered, "I am enough." Day by day, her reflection became her friend. Self-love begins with the words you tell yourself. Speak gently, because you are listening. This is brought to you by Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope come alive. And welcome back, everybody. And Brachelle is here, and I'm here, and by gum, you're here too. And we're glad to have you here. And Dr. Laila is here. She's a chiropractor from Tustin, California, and she's very gifted at a lot of things that she does. And I wanted to give you, we've got a good 10 minutes of the show. Is that long enough for you to tell us what you were thinking about?
I think that should be good enough. Yeah.
Perfect.
Awesome. So go ahead.
Well, my story, the way I came about learning about chiropractic was when I was going to Northern Kentucky University, and I was walking through the campus, and all of a sudden I felt this sharp pain in my foot. So I went to several different doctors and did physical therapy, and my feet was still hurting, and I was walking with crutches, and the campus is a real big campus. So finally, several weeks later, somebody referred me to a chiropractor, and I didn't even know what a chiropractor was and what they did. So I went to see a chiropractor. They examined my foot as well as my back, and the doctor recommended that he would take some x-rays of my lower back, and I didn't understand because my back didn't hurt. I'm like, why do you have to take x-rays of my back? So he explained how the nervous system, the nerves that travel between the lower back control the legs and the feet and everything as far as the lower extremities. So he adjusted my lower back and he adjusted my foot, and literally my pain was gone with a couple of sessions, and I was shocked. And at the time I was in biology major. I wanted to be a dentist. Ever since I was a kid, I had the possibility that that's what I would do. But anyways, decided to become a chiropractor because I had firsthand experience, and that was just amazing for me because it was such an eye-opening to learn so much about the body. And I've always been very interested in the body because I even in college I was working out, and I always used to give massages to my family. And I don't know. My sister once took me a fortune teller. She liked fortune tellers. I just kind of went along, and she told me you need to do something with your hands. So chiro actually means hands, the practice of the hands. So many years later, this became a chiropractor. And when I first opened my practice here in Tustin, we were trying to conceive a baby, and it wasn't happening. So I did some fertility treatments, and they accidentally nicked my bladder, so I couldn't void on my own, which means I couldn't go number one. And so I had a catheter put in, and so I didn't know if I was ever going to get that ability back. When you lose that ability, you kind of lose faith in your body. Like, what if I never can, avoid on my own? So I went to see a urologist, and he gave me Flomax, and I took it for 2 days, and basically started the process. So I have great respect for medication, and I have great respect for surgery, and the medical model in terms of treating things that absolutely needs treatment. I just don't like opioids as the first line of treatment for any type of pain because it's highly addictive. And I just don't like daily medication when there's something that can be done about it first. But there's great things that can be done in the medical world. So I definitely get my exams yearly, my blood work yearly, and then of course I do the natural approach as well. So as far as I'm not sure my voice is echoing. Do you hear that as well?
Just slightly. It should go away.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I'll just keep talking because I love doing that.
Yes, indeed. Well, is there a cell phone on somewhere?
My phone is off.
Oh, it stopped. Oh, here
Okay.
now.
So I firsthand experienced what it means to when I started to, even though the full max helped me, but I felt like I wasn't getting a complete emptying. Like I still felt some urgency. And whenever I got my back adjusted, I felt like I was able to completely empty. And I know this is very, personal, and I'm sharing this because I want people to understand that by getting adjustments to my lower back, I was able to urinate like a normal person, where I felt like without it, I was pushing harder. I was trying to push harder to try to get everything out, and it was coming at intervals. And so I firsthand experienced how the nervous system can be restored in terms of how it functions in terms of organs and systems of the body. And so when patients started to come into my office and they were told that they have rheumatoid arthritis and they're going to have pain the rest of their lives, I was like, no, because don't accept that. Don't accept that diagnosis and that label, because once you're labeled, then you feel like, okay, I'm supposed to have pain. Some of those pains could be from osteoarthritis, from bad posture, from weak muscles, from tight muscles. So while you still have rheumatoid arthritis and they're being put on these harsh medications because they're getting symptoms from just, just being out of alignment, when we adjust them, they're 70-80% better and they're shocked. And now they don't have to resort to those harsh medications for rheumatoid arthritis. So I have two stories that I want to share, which are so profound. One is Sergio and one is Maria. Sergio was hit by a car 4 years prior to him coming to see me. And he was in a wheelchair and also a walker. So he would not walk with the walker. He would be sitting on those walkers, and then kind of drag his feet and walk that way. And so I told him he's going to walk again. And now he's walking. He started walking, obviously, instead of sitting on the walker, now, he was holding the walker. But I was adamant about getting rid of the wheelchair and getting rid of the walker. He had jaundice. He could only sleep for 2 hours at a night. He would wake up every minute, all the time, to go to the restroom because he had that urgency. When he came to the office, he would go to the bathroom at least 10 times in 1 hour. He had incontinence. He would leak, and a whole host of symptoms. And so all of those symptoms were gone within 6 weeks. But by the way, these stories are on my Instagram page. Sergio came with black glasses because he couldn't handle light. So even around the house, people would walk on eggshells around him because he was so irritable and so irritated, and they could not remove the curtains because he couldn't handle light. Within 6 weeks, you could see a transformation of Sergio, and now he walks with a cane, but he doesn't rely on the cane, but it's there just for comfort because he still has a little weakness in his legs. He had just life-changing for him and his family. He's actually going to the movies. He's traveling to Arizona to see his family. He's going to Mexico on vacations with his family. He got his life back. And that was because I told him, do not accept that. You're going to walk. And when you give people hope and you tell them, do not accept that label that you were given, that diagnosis that you were given, and give them that hope, it just completely transforms their mind and they start to believe it and they actually make the change and it happens. Maria, she was diagnosed with hereditary spastic paraplegia. So essentially, let me show you how she walked into the office. She's, by the way, like in her late 30s or early 40s. She was walking like this and on her tippy toes. And so you can actually put a glass on her back and using a walker. Her legs felt like sandbags.
Poor thing.
So bad. And I told her, you're gonna be walking without a walker. And just when she lay down, she would stay in a boat pose because we couldn't get her legs to go down. She was stuck in that position. So she accepted that diagnosis, and it was a interesting diagnosis because that just came from the fact that from her symptoms. But how can we just correct the nervous system and how it's functioning so that we can get rid of those symptoms? So Maria is also walking today without a walker, with flat feet, not on her tippy toes, and she's straight. She's not in that manner that I just showed. She recently came back with her son a couple months ago, and she brought a new MRI, and she said that her orthopedic surgeon said, what the heck did you do? First of all, because her MRI changed for the better, and she said it was Dr. Laila. So profoundly ecstatic about these. Sometimes my son asks me, what made me go into chiropractic and why I chose to stay in chiropractic. And And I said, it's because if it wasn't for me, Maria and Sergio would still be in a wheelchair and walking, with a walker.
That is very encouraging. That's very wonderful. Now, we've run out of time, oddly enough. And Rochelle, if you would like I get it. Well, you could talk for hours all by yourself. We'll just wind you up and let you go. Rochelle, how can we get a hold of her?
Yes, Dr. Laila Nayab-Murshidi. If you go look her up, just even on Google, Dr. Laila, and you're going to find her. It'll take you directly to her website, which is tustinvmc.com. Has all the information. And really just thank you, doctor, for being here with us and sharing these stories and bringing light to somebody's situation who hears this and thinks that there is no possibility for them.
Absolutely.
If you've never been to a chiropractor and you're scared to go to a chiropractor, sis, go to a chiropractor. They'll help you. I guarantee it. And I know she's going to listen to this, so she'll call me and yell at me, but that's just too bad because she needs to go do it. Just put your big girl pants on and go do it, Karen. Whatever your name is. I'm sorry. So thank you, Dr. Laila. And I hope everybody has a great day today. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.